Daniel Negreanu is looking down at pocket nines. Pre-flop begins with a straddle from Tony G, a strategic choice that doubles the stakes, but also inflates his ego, forcing the table to play on his terms. Negreanu, sitting with pocket nines, decides to take control. He raises to 3,200. It is a strong raise, designed to isolate the straddler and define ranges early. However, Tony G is not a player who folds his straddle easily. Looking down at 5-3 suited, a hand that most players would instantly muck, Tony sees potential. He defends,
me and the G,
relying on his ability to outplay Negreanu post-flop rather than the raw strength of his cards. The flop is an action-packed texture that hits Tony G's garbage range significantly harder than it hits Negreanu's premium range. Negreanu, holding the overpair, leads out for 4,500. He is betting for value and protection, knowing that nines are vulnerable on this low, connected board. Tony G makes the call. He has too much equity to fold. The turn brings the jack, a card that is better for Negreanu's range than for Tony's. Negreanu fires a second barrel of 11,000. This is a critical point. Negreanu is polarizing his hand. He is saying he can beat a pair of fives. Tony G, however, enters sheriff mode. He refuses to believe Negreanu. He convinces himself that the jack is a good card for Negreanu to bluff on. The river is the 10. Negreanu, sensing that Tony is in call-down mode, decides to go for thin value. He bets 21,000. It is a large bet, asking Tony to pay a premium to see the cards. Tony G goes into the tank. He looks at his pair of fives, which is effectively fourth pair. To call here, he has to believe Negreanu has exactly ace-king or a total air bluff.
Good bet. Too good.
I would have flopped a straight if I played my hand.
I was even money. Had a pain
flop?
straight draw.
Yeah, that's what I put you on. You turn a straight draw.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down on 10-9 suited.
Who lost the last one?
Me, that'd be me. Steaming.
Boom.
This hand sits in the suited connector bucket that plays well. Versus a 3-bet, it has equity versus broadways, realizes well in position, and can call profitably against most small blind ranges.
Such a good spot.
Oh, him again, him and his spots again.
Except you have to act first.
Oh, yeah.
Veldhouse re-raises to $7,000 from the small blind. That sizing represents a fairly standard linear small blind 3-bet, strong aces, broadways, and some pocket pairs. When Negreanu calls, his range keeps most suited connectors, suited broadways, medium pairs, and a few slow plays. Importantly, he retains position and stack to pot depth for post-flop maneuvering. Texture advantage is mixed. The small blind has all over pairs and more ace-10 offsuit. The caller has more 4s and 10x suited. Veldhouse continuation bets 11,500 with ace-queen of diamonds.
I love the 6-spot speech. That was the best part of this hand. It's fun. 11. Huh?
That's a good level, huh?
It was good. 6-spot. Boom, raise, da-da-da.
That bet targets folds from unpaired high cards and protects overpairs, while keeping bluffs like 2 overcards with backdoors. Negreanu's call with top pair and excellent runout potential keeps his range uncapped. From Veldhouse's seat, once called, Negreanu's range condenses around 4s, 10s, pocket pairs like jacks through 7s, and sticky backdoors. This is a pivotal card, because trips remain the nuts, and gives Negreanu a valuable backdoor flush draw. Check-check makes sense for both. Veldhouse's ace-queen has little fold equity versus 4s and 10s, and hates getting check-raised. Negreanu's check protects his flop call range, keeps bluffs in, and realizes 2 clean ways to improve, clubs and 9. Negreanu improves to 2-pair, 10s and 9s, while Veldhouse remains with ace-high. From a range view, the river shifts blocker dynamics. Negreanu's line contains more 9x, while Veldhouse remains with ace-high.
I'm all in.
So you're saying I made a good check on the turn? Is that what you're claiming? Such level. I mean, you know more about my game than anyone, so is that enough to make the difference for me? I would have felt better if I just bet the turn, you raised, and then I called. That would have been even more fun. Fire on the river. Are you hoping that I'm going to play good here? I'm so confused.
Daniel calls, And for a change, see some good news at Showdown.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down at 10-7 offsuit, but Seaver has raised to $1,300 with pocket fives, and Hashem has called with Jack 10 suited.
Uh-oh, this is Daniel's favorite hand, and it's actually gotten him into trouble in the big game before.
Re-raises on the button to 5,200.
He knows Seaver's range is wide and Hashem's flat is vulnerable. Even though it's his favorite hand, he's trying to play the players, not the cards. This raise is about letting them know that he's going to give them a hard time this hand if they decide to play along.
Scott Seaver is really hoping Daniel has an overpair so that he has the right implied odds to make this call.
Hashem folded, so heads up to the flop. King, deuce, queen. Seaver checks the best hand.
Negreanu knows Seaver could easily have king-queen here after raising and then calling Daniel's re-raise pre-flop. But why would he check? Daniel smells weakness, and that's usually when he gets curious.
He reps, betting 6,200.
Looks like Scott's gonna peel.
He calls.
Hashem wants his cards back.
6 of spades on the turn. Seaver checks.
Daniel still got just 10 high. This is one of the dangers of having a favorite hand.
Daniel does not look like he's about to check. After just calling the flop and checking the turn, Negreanu is probably putting Seaver on a draw or the weak pocket pair he does indeed have. He's thinking, if I apply the right pressure now, Seaver might just fold and give me all the money.
Daniel does fire that third barrel, making it 14,200 to go.
I could justify Scott's call on the flop, thinking maybe Daniel would shut down after one bet, but Daniel certainly hasn't shut down.
Seaver keeps it going. He calls.
Seaver's totally stationing Negreanu.
You mean like a calling station?
Exactly.
4 clubs on the river. Seaver checks.
Sick.
Daniel fires 36,000.
Seaver is capped, checked every street, and never repped strength. Daniel has nothing, but he knows Seaver is weak enough to fold. This is a masterclass.
Folds the winner.
Phew-wee. You had me staring. I had my favorite hand. You know what that is?
10-7?
7 of diamonds and 10 of clubs specifically. Can't believe I got away with a bluff.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down at Jack 7 suited. Pre-flop begins with Negreanu putting on a masterclass in loose aggressive play from the hijack position. He opens the pot to 22,000 holding an incredibly speculative hand. Isaac Haxton, the math wizard of the high roller scene, sits on the button with ace-10 of clubs. Haxton makes a standard flat call in position, keeping his range disguised while acknowledging the strength of his own hand. The flop falls a rainbow texture. This is a disaster for Negreanu. He has missed completely, holding only jack high with a backdoor straight draw. Haxton, however, has flopped top pair with a decent kicker. Fua checks his bottom pair. Despite missing the board, Negreanu takes the aggressive route and fires a continuation bet of 36,000. He is trying to represent the ace or king. Haxton, holding the ace, smoothly calls, trapping the bluffer. The turn brings the 6 of spades, which is a complete blank. With no equity, Negreanu decides that he has to keep telling his story. He fires a second barrel of 85,000. Haxton is now facing a decision. He has top pair, but Negreanu is betting into him twice on an ace-high board. Haxton reasons that his hand is underrepresented and calls again, refusing to fold to aggression when his hand is likely best. The river is the queen of diamonds. Negreanu has missed everything, but despite that he decides that holding one blocker to the straight is enough to make it a bluff spot. This is such a Negreanu move, and one of the reasons I like him so much. He is never afraid to play the player, not the cards. Haxton goes deep into the tank, and I guess he got coolered earlier or something, because despite getting good odds on that pot,
Haxton folds the best hand.
Well done.
Show me a bluff.
Why? I
It'll
never
be
do
fun.
that.
It'll be so fun. Jesus.
He is laughing really hard.
That was poetic. It's hard to bluff Ike.
What the hell? Once in a blue moon, you gotta steam.
Negreanu is looking down on Jack 10 suited. Lichtenberger opens the hijack and both stacks behind are deep, so the pre-flop incentives matter. With aces, raising to 45K keeps in dominated broadways and pairs while leaving room to play streets post-flop instead of taking a huge 4-bet pot this close to the business end of a major event. Negreanu flats the cutoff with Jack 10 suited. Against a competent hijack opener and a sticky big blind, that hand prints by realizing equity rather than trying to 3-bet. If he 3-bets, he invites a 4-bet from value, folds out the weaker stuff he dominates, and risks playing a bloated pot with a hand that prefers multi-way, position, and disguised equity. D bleeds into 2 players. With top pair and a backdoor club, he denies overcards a free look and sets the price on a texture that can change quickly, Lichtenberger just calls with aces. That's deliberate. Raising polarizes him on a wet board and risks pushing out Negreanu's dominated continues. With the ace of clubs, he blocks the nut flush, so he doesn't fear as many bad turns and can keep ranges wide. Negreanu's call with Jack 10 is standard. He has the clean open-ender to the nuts, excellent position, and two opponents who will pay him off if he hits. Turning this into a raise would fold out worse and isolate against the top of range. The 7 of clubs hits, and Negreanu picks up the straight at the same time the front door flush completes. Lichtenberger checks as well, which keeps his range disguised and preserves the option to spring a check raise. With aces that include the ace of clubs, he can induce a bet, choose between calling and jamming, and if he is behind, he carries 9 outs to the nuts. Negreanu fires 295k to tax everything at once. The bet extracts from 2 pairs and sets that fear a 4th club, charges single club overpairs that refuse to fold, and denies a cheap river to ace of clubs holdings that would love a free card. The sizing is intentional because it sets up a straightforward stack-off versus a check raise, and avoids giving a volatile river the chance to undo his equity lead.
Feeling comfortable right now. See? You can tell by my energy. Relaxed. What does that usually mean? Huh? What? Dang! As soon as I start yapping, he goes in. Oh, man.
Imagine that you are so good with the mind games that you can induce an all-in shove with just some yapping.
Tough decision. I'm gonna need a minute.
While we wait for Negreanu to make his decision, please give this video a like. Thank you.
Because you check the turn. I guess you do that with the ace-high flush, right? Well, you have to have it. I don't think I can fold, though. Nice hand, bro.
This part here was inaudible, but you can clearly see that he is saying deuce of hearts a few times.
Called the deuce of hearts. Were you hearing me saying deuce of hearts?
Negreanu is looking down on 10-9 suited. Shlomi opens to $475 with pocket kings, the classic early position value raise that invites dominated high cards to make mistakes. Boniati flats behind, a routine set mine that keeps the opener wide and creates a pot where overpairs are forced to play multi-way. On the button, Negreanu overcalls with 10-9 suited. He buys position against a likely overpair, keeps the pot single raised so his connected hand can realize, and preserves a post-flop story that can credibly arrive at straights and 2-pair on many middling runouts. With 3 players and deep stacks, Negreanu's plan is to control price now and fight for leverage later. The board rolls out wet and middle, exactly the texture that pressures an opener's range. Shlomi continuation bets $1,525 into 2 opponents to tax the spades and charge the gutters while protecting his likely overpair. Boniati steps aside, Negreanu continues. With top pair, strong kicker for this configuration, and position, calling is superior to raising. It keeps Shlomi's bluffs alive, avoids isolating versus the strongest value, and retains every turn card that can add equity or scare an overpair. He's now set up to maneuver without inflating the pot unnecessarily. The Queen of Hearts lands. That card is fine for kings, but improves Negreanu's believable value region to include Queen 9 and some 2-pair that could have peeled. Shlomi opts for a measured $2,125, continuing his value protection line, without bloating the pot on a card that helps the caller more than the pre-flop raiser. Negreanu calls again, disciplined and deliberate. He keeps his range uncapped, realizes equity with 10-9, and holds the option to seize the narrative on favorable rivers, or punish thin value bets with a polarizing raise. The river is the 8 of clubs, a quiet but meaningful shift that completes 6-7 and strengthens combos like 9-8 that Negreanu can absolutely show up with. Shlomi puts out a small $3,000 bet, more price setting than power, trying to get looked up by worse pairs while avoiding a big decision. Negreanu springs the trap to $12,800, polarizing himself to straights, 2-pair, or sets, and telling a story perfectly consistent with his passive turn. 10-9 is a sharp candidate. It blocks calls from Queen 9, doesn't block missed spades, and represents exactly the value holdings that beat an overpair.
Aces or kings? Can I say that, or is that illegal? Heads up. I can say what he has, but not what I have. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking aces or kings.
I appreciate you watching this far. Could you please give this video a like? Thank you.
And Shlomi's now thinking, if you've read me for aces or kings, surely you can beat aces or kings, I have to fold.
Negreanu is looking down on pocket deuces. Luca opens to 30k with pocket 9s, a bread and butter early raise that covers a wide band of low and middling boards and pressures the offsuit broadways behind him. The hand wants callers who show up with overcards and then miss. It also doesn't mind playing smaller pots where it can value bet cleanly across safe runouts. Negreanu flat calls with pocket deuces. Small pairs love this configuration. He has position to control price. Stacks are deep enough to realize implied odds, and keeping it single raise preserves all the set and wheel runouts that print against one pair. Turning deuces into a 3-bet would just funnel Luca into strong overpairs and invite a 4-bet, Calling keeps the deck wide and the story flexible. The flop comes low and connected, exactly the texture where the caller can credibly have all the sets and the occasional 4-2 or 6-5. Luca makes the routine range c-bet for 28K. On this board, the small size folds out pure air, taxes random overcards like ace-queen, and keeps worse-made hands honest without bloating the pot or polarizing his range. Negreanu's raised to 95K. From this configuration is perfectly believable. He's repping sets, 2-pair like 6-5 suited, and some straights. With deuces, he isn't spinning it. He holds a live gutter to the wheel plus 2 cleanouts to a set, so he's applying pressure with real equity while seizing the narrative. The sizing forces overpairs and top pairs to define themselves now, rather than getting a cheap turn that could punish them. Luca's call protects his overpairs and some slow plays, but it also hands tempo to Negreanu and nudges Luca toward a bluff catch posture on a lot of turns. He's inviting Negreanu to keep telling the story and hoping to catch him on a bad card. The turn pairs the 3 and Luca checks. It's a tricky card for both players. It slightly trims the number of set combos. Negreanu repped on the flop, while making overpairs feel a touch safer against bluffs and draws. Negreanu checks back. That's the disciplined pivot. Firing again would polarize on a card that dulls his set story and invites stubborn calls from exactly the hands he wants to move on the river. The river is the 8 of clubs, and Luca checks a 3rd time. After flop pressure and turn control, that 3rd check leaves his range heavy on single pair hands that hate facing a big ask.
Daniel bets ridiculously big, 400K.
Wow.
And Luca folds.